Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to Telling Tales. Here on Telling Tales, we tell atmospheric role-playing stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. Because you're here on a Monday, you will be watching Call of Cthulhu. This is the arc Darkwood. This will be the 8th session. It may be the last. It may not be. That depends entirely on how the characters act. Because that's just the kind of keeper I am. I let them do whatever they want, kind of within the realms and confines of not reality, because it's Call of Cthulhu. Anyway, here's Matt, our stream manager. Hi, Matt.
Hi. Oh, that's not meant to happen.
Hi, Matt.
Hiya. How you doing?
Fine, thanks. I enjoyed talking about reality.
So
Matt
did Lovecraft.
Matt will be responsible.
He was a massive racist, so maybe
he was.
Back.
It's really a shame. Matt will be responsible for putting images up on the screen and choosing the order in which people's camera feeds appear. Also,
make it sound so thrilling.
And other things like rules clarifications, which pop up on our screens, but not yours, so that we look like, well, I look like I know what I'm doing. Thanks for that, Matt.
It's all right. My pleasure.
So down below, we have links to our YouTube if you're watching this on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching this on YouTube. Our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Our Discord, which you can join and come and have chats with us about all things tabletop role-playing and otherwise. We've had quite a few new people join recently, which has been nice. And there is also a link to our Patreon, should you wish to donate to the show and help us keep on doing this. There are numerous different levels of rewards, one of which grants you access to different bits of the Discord. So that links in to that's a callback to other things, and you can even go so far as donating an amount that means that Matt, who you just saw as our stream manager and who runs 2 other shows, which I'll talk about in a minute, can run a game for you and some friends. That'd be nice. So other things that are on this channel on a Tuesday. There's Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, which is run by Matt, who's stream managing this. On a Wednesday, there is Simba Room, which is a game made by Free League Publishing, a dark fantasy game. That's also run by Matt. And on the first Saturday of every month, there is a different one-shot game run by and including different people. So we've had so far Alien, Troika, Morkborg, and this weekend just gone was Fiasco. And the next one, I believe, will be June the 5th. And that's still to be confirmed what that is, so keep an eye out for that. If you join our Discord, you get to find out really easily what it is and when it is and all that kind of good stuff. That's all of that out of the way. Now let's get spooky. Oh, go on, Matt.
Sorry to contradict you, John, but one more thing, just a quick extra plug. We're starting to run a new series on the Free League Twitch, which is starting this Sunday afternoon, UK time.
Very exciting.
Which is, another Simbroom series, and we're running that over on the Free League Twitch. So check that out this Sunday. I will now retreat.
Cool. Okay. So, as I said, this is the 8th session now of this arc Darkwood. I hope that everybody who's been keeping up with it so far has been enjoying it. If you haven't, I would question why you've been keeping up with it, but be that as it may. Last time, things started to get pretty intense towards the end, I think, or even at the beginning. So I think if we can bring on Sam, who plays Jemima. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
What did Jemima find last
so
time?
At the beginning of the previous session, the end of the previous session, we had a weird, creepy whispering coming from inside Duncan's place at the back of the pub, and that creeped us out. I think me and Esther heard it. At the beginning of this session, Esther was basically gone. Last session, Esther was basically gone upstairs because it was creeped her out. But I ran to the into the house and found the creepy book. I think it was me. I dragged Dane with me as well, if I remember correctly. Dane did not like the book and tried to persuade me to not pick up the book or look at the book. I originally didn't, and then I heard Duncan arrive and was like, this is my only opportunity to figure out what the hell's going on here. So I picked up the book and stole away with the book upstairs without raising any of Duncan's suspicions immediately, and proceeded to start reading the book. I think Dane decided to stay downstairs, but Melvin followed me upstairs to the room. And it turns out I could read some of it with my Latin, and it took me some time, but I kind of figured out a few things in it. There was some things about calling in the book, which was a bit unsettling. I also got that the symbol that was chalk drawn on our doors and we'd seen in other places, the cross, was actually one of the symbols in the book, but it was specifically upside down in the book. So apparently the proper way to cast it was upside down, and it was like a curse to like prevent God from getting to the person or something. So by presumably the assumption that me and Melvin had was if you put it the right way up, which this person's done, it has the opposite effect. So maybe it's been intended to protect us. So we were kind of suspecting that maybe Duncan's actually been trying to help us out and protect us, which, you know, kind of goes along with some suggestions. Yeah, and then after kind of studying it for a good long while, I eventually decided to kind of head back downstairs. I think that's where the another idea came up.
Yeah. So at this point, Willie had come into the bar and pointed out that the Menzies had left their house unattended. And I think after a little back and forth between Jemima, Melvin, and Dane, it was decided that you would have a little snoop around if the opportunity were to present it.
Yeah. I think Dane had some Dutch courage, which persuaded us, if I remember correctly.
And as a result of that, you ended up finding the Menzies family Bible, basically, didn't you?
Yeah. So the rest of the house was empty, but nothing of interest particularly, anyway, which I thought was kind of strange actually. But we managed to get in without any problems, and Dane brought me the family Bible, having not got much useful out of it, and I had a success at library usage, and was momentarily distracted from the other more evil book that I was perusing in the background, and had a look at the family Bible and found the weird ritual that occurs at the death of every Menzies patriarch, I suppose, which basically has been going on since the 1600s, and it's with I can't remember. What's the last name of the other family for me? Sorry, John.
The Douglas family.
The Douglas family, who have also been in the village for this long period. Every time a Menzies patriarch has died since then, they have been unearthed and reburied back outside by a member of the Douglas family. And then there's been another burial ritual where they're unearthed from outside and put back in their stone kind of crypt inside the church. We don't really know why, but one time it wasn't done in the 1800s, and there was a famine for quite a few years or something. So it seems like it's good to do it, but also creepy, I guess. And we also know that the member of the Douglas family we kind of figured out was the one who looked shifty at the funeral with the kind of family and the little girl.
Yeah. So following this visit, you all return to the pub. And then if we can bring Jack on, he plays Melvin. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
So Dane and Willie ended up going to visit the Douglases, and Melvin and Jemima stayed in the pub. Yes. So do you want to give us a little rundown on that?
Yeah, so Jemima went upstairs to take another look at her book, while Melvin decided to sit downstairs and decompress from all the weirdness slightly. So yeah, Jemima was upstairs reading more of the book. And what she sort of ended up deciphering was a spell, which was it's called Death Spell. So I imagine it does a lot of good for a lot of people. I think sort of worked out that if she casts it, she will be completely insane. But as she was sort of deciphering this, Melvin sat downstairs hearing the whistling of Duncan making food in the kitchen until he wasn't whistling. He was rummaging around in his room, presumably, and he came out and in an angry Scottish voice asked what we had done. And that was the cliffhanger.
Yeah. Thank you. So if we can bring Matt on, who plays Dane, who was over at the Douglas residence with Willie. Hi, Matt. Do you want to give us a talk through what Dane uncovered over there?
Yeah, so Dane and Willie had gone to visit the Douglases, as we'd heard that they were planning to leave quite urgently, and felt like this might present an opportunity for the group to jump on board and maybe leave as well. Basically, we'd also heard that Melvin's uncle was possibly going to be heading over in a kind of unknown amount of time. We thought that this might be of interest to the Douglases too. So yeah, we went to visit and gave a knock on the door, and the first thing Dane said was kind of, well, we overheard you talking to Jimmy about leaving, and then immediately Patrick Douglas pulled Dane and Willie inside, kind of telling us to not speak about this in the open. His daughter and his wife were upstairs, and he kind of sent them away. Dane is kind of asking him, what is going on? But if you're trying to leave, then we also want to leave. Patrick seems to just think it's too late. He was saying there's no chance, it's too late. Dane then somewhat cheekily raised the idea that this car is coming, although we know that it's not actually coming today, and it might be a bit longer than that. We wanted to kind of see if that would encourage the Douglases to tell us a little bit more about what was going on. At that point, Dane spotted a shovel, like a muddy shovel in the corner, and kind of, lost his composure and immediately sort of panicked and just asked the Douglases, Patrick Douglas, like, what's the shovel doing over there? What have you got to do with all of this? Cognizant of the freshly dug grave, etc. And basically Patrick then started pushing us out the door. And at that point, I believe there was a knock on the door, and it was Jacob Menzies saying, "Hello, Patrick," and heading indoors.
That's right. So we left last week on a double cliffhanger, which is the first time I've ever managed to arrange one of those. So Jacob Menzies, you hear him say, "Hello, Patrick," and then Patrick kind of freezes with the door half open and says, hello, Jacob." And Jacob says, I presume everything is still in order." He says, yes, of course, yes. Good. I'll see you in the morrow. And you see Patrick's hand sort of be pulled off the door as the door moves, and Jacob has obviously closed it behind him as he's walked off. And Patrick just kind of stands there and then slowly turns and says, I'm sorry, but again, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
I'm sorry. I assumed you were trying to leave that man. Are you cooperating with him?
No more than I have to.
Look, if we can get out of here, are you wanting to join us?
If you can get out of here, you know where I am.
Do we need to know anything else? If you want a lift and your family wants a lift, you will need us to help you.
if you can get us out of here, I can tell you everything. But I'm only putting myself and my family in more danger while I'm here if I talk to you.
Okay. Well, I hope we'll see you soon. I don't know if
Willie
wants
sort
to
of
say anything.
he stands and kind of he looks really uneasy, as I'm sure Dane probably does as well. It's a bit of a complex position for you to be in, where there's clearly, this man is clearly scared of this other guy and something, but he's unwilling to talk to you. It's a bit like Willie basically has nothing that he feels he can say, and he just kind of nods towards the door as you look at him.
Yeah, I don't think Dane can. He doesn't feel like he can navigate a way out of this. So yeah, I guess we'll just head out. Well, yeah, checking through the door that Jacob has obviously moved on.
Yeah. So as you get to near the door, Patrick opens it and kind of looks out, and then opens it fully, and says, "Thank you for your kind offer. Be safe."
Well, you too. See you soon.
Okay, back at the pub. How does Melvin react to?
He's probably got maybe his drink in his hand, and I imagine as Duncan basically swings the door open and shouts at him, he probably jumps, maybe spills his drink a bit, and probably doesn't say anything distinct other than a sort of stammering like like that.
I think Jemima's upstairs, isn't she?
Yeah. I was going to ask you that here.
I think even though you're probably quite engrossed in the book, it was loud.
Okay.
So I think that you would hear.
I would say Jemima is sufficiently engrossed at this moment that it takes her a few seconds to engage with it. So that might change the amount of time it takes him to get up. But then she realizes and reacts really fast when she realizes.
So in that time, I think Duncan has probably continued moving towards Melvin, and saying, "What have you done? Where is it?
What?
He kind of looks like he's realized something and goes, "Where's Dr. Wallace?"
She's upstairs, I think.
I think that at this point, probably Jemima comes around the corner and onto the stairs.
Yeah. So my first reaction was going to be, is there anywhere in the room that looks like I could hide the book well? Or is it better to hide it on my person?
Yeah, there's not. So the room is pretty, it's nice enough, but it's pretty stark. There's not.
Yeah.
Unless you were to try and pry up a floorboard or something.
It's his place too.
So, yeah.
The one idea I had was my first reaction was to look out the window and see if there's anywhere I could kind of wedge it so it doesn't fall, like a little bit of like plant or a loose rock. I could hide it in outside the window, but if I have to drop it, I'll rather keep it in my person.
It's sort of tiled roof.
Can I kind of wedge it against the tile on the roof? So it's outside the window.
Do you know what? Do you want to? I'm not going to make you drop it if you fail this, but do you want to make a roll on Dex?
Sure. It's a 50-50.
The character sheet up.
I fail.
Okay. You kind of think you've got it in a bit of a slot, and you go to gently move your hand away to see if it stays, and it slides, and you catch it again.
Okay. Jemima is going to pocket it.
Yeah, I think you figure time-wise, you probably, you need to be getting moving with it.
Okay, I'm going to pocket it, and I'm not going to come downstairs. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Jemima's like, I know exactly what he's doing, and I'm going to be as inconspicuous as possible.
So, as Melvin has said that Jemima is upstairs, Duncan turns round and heads up the stairs, so you hear the footsteps coming up.
Okay. I flip around so it looks like I'm coming out of the bathroom and just like get a towel on my face.
Okay. Dr. Wallace.
What was the commotion about?
I have a reason to believe that you might have something of mine.
Why would you think that?
Because it is no longer in my residence.
And why would we have taken it?
I am not aware of anybody else having been in here.
But I have no interest in stealing your things.
So you wouldn't happen to have seen some kind of text and decided that it was something perhaps worth learning from.
Were you trying to protect us?
A tavern owner should always try and protect his guests.
Speak more plainly with me, directly with the chalk drawings. Were you trying to
Do you want to
protect
make a
us?
psychology roll?
Yeah, right. Nope. I rolled good, but not
Okay.
good enough.
I have always done my best to protect you, Mr. Harrow, Miss Smith, and Mr. Caffey. If you would return the book to me, I could perhaps continue attempting to protect you.
I'm inclined to believe this is true, and I can understand why no one would have wanted to tell us any of the real truth that's going on here. But I feel like, given what's been going on, the best thing for us was to find some answers. And this is the only answers we've had while we've been here living through this madness. Even if you were trying to protect us, I know you thought it best to keep this from us, but I disagree. It's too late now.
Return
We're
the
wrapped
book.
up in this anyway.
Return the book to me, and I will think about what I can tell you.
I think Jemima's had enough of this, and she slams her foot down a bit and says, "That's just not good enough."
The
Need
door
to know.
opens. The door opens downstairs. This is about the same time as Dane and Willie are leaving the Douglas's house, and the priest walks in. So Dane and Willie, you kind of see the pub door just closing as you leave the Douglas's house, and the priest says, "I presume the jig is up, Duncan."
I'm presuming he's sort of just speaking to the room in general, expecting Duncan to be about, is he?
Yeah.
I suppose Melvin would have. I think Melvin actually was probably, if Duncan's at the top of the stairs, he's probably halfway up, sort of.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
following up, so he'll probably turn around at this. I don't know if Duncan's can hear him from up there.
Yeah, he'd hear him. Yeah, he's basically at the top of the stairs. So he said, Duncan kind of sighs and says, "Dr. Wallace, please, the book." And then Jonny Moore and I will have a chat with you and your friends.
Let's go downstairs first.
He turns and sort of ushers you to pass him down the stairs.
I will go past calmly enough down the stairs, and I will just go and sit at one of the tables and kind of wait for everyone to gather around me, I guess.
Okay. The priest is the first to sit down because he's already downstairs, so he sits next to you. I'm presuming Melvin kind of also goes and sits.
Yes.
And then Duncan sits, and then Matt, I'm presuming that Dane is returning to the pub.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're just heading right back.
Okay. So, yeah, everybody's sat at the table.
I think probably like as Dane and Willie walk in is the basically the moment that I get the book out and put it on the table, but I'm still holding it.
Okay. Duncan's looking quite uneasy, and he says, "Dr. Wallace, please pass me that back. We're all here. We're going to have a conversation. I would just much prefer if you could return the book."
I look around at Dane and Melvin and Willie and see what their expressions are like at this, kind of for a split second before I consider handing the book back.
Dane is definitely trying to look as encouraging as he can in terms of moving it over.
Melvin,
probably just sort of looking between like that.
what does Willie look like? Out of curiosity.
Willie has always seemed to you as if he trusts Duncan.
Okay. And
so he's kind of giving that sort of feeling across.
Actually, how does the priest look as well, given the book's now on the table?
He keeps sort of glancing at it out of the corner of his eye.
Okay.
Obviously, as a holy man, it probably makes him a bit uneasy.
Yeah, given that I'm sure he knows something about what it is, which is definitely very unsettling from his perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, I will slowly release my hands and then slide it across.
Can you make a willpower roll for me, please, which is your POW stat?
Oh, yeah, that's so perfect. I can see why now. Well, I've got quite high power. I succeed.
Great. Okay.
Do I feel that then?
So as you go to start removing your hand, you almost... It's almost like you hear it through your ears, like the sound, but you know that it's just in your head that's basically telling you to keep hold of it.
Okay. The second that I hear that, I go from slowly sliding it to rapidly pushing it away towards Duncan and kind of shake my head.
Duncan lets out a sigh and then picks the book up and gets up and goes to put it back in the back. The priest, in the meantime, says, "Thank you, Dr. Wallace. I believe that you would all like some kind of an explanation. We were hoping to keep any of this from you, Duncan and I, but unfortunately it seems to have reached a point where that's not possible. The Menzies family, as I believe you've become aware, have been here for a long time. Jacob Menzies approached me and spoke to me about some strange funeral arrangements. This is the first that I became aware of what this has now become. And, well, it made me uneasy, but there was nothing that seemed to be blasphemous in his wishes.
There was nothing blasphemous about reburying? Surely that's...
No, that was not what was discussed initially. I became aware of that later, and I also became aware of the hold that he seems to have over the village. Now, obviously, I'm quite young in terms of being a priest, a reverend, whatever you would call somebody like me. So I spoke to my predecessor, who, according to the records, dealt with the last time that a Menzies was buried here. He didn't live in the village anymore, and I tracked him down. And I explained who I was and where I was from. And he didn't seem to remember the village at all.
But he'd been the Reverend here. You were certain of that?
For over 40 years. Now, I've met other people who have lived in Dorisdeer and left, and they remembered times here fondly. So I'm not exactly sure what the case was here, but I couldn't get any more information about the strangeness from there. Duncan comes back out of the back room and retakes his seat.
Was that a conspicuously long time, out of curiosity, for just putting the book down?
Not really. He was gone for sort of probably just under a minute.
Okay, no problem.
So if he'd been, replacing it on a shelf or something, you wouldn't necessarily think he was gone for ages.
Yeah, cool.
Duncan says when I realised that you seem to be being targeted in some way by whatever was going on, the weird audio hallucinations or whatever they were. I knew that the priest had been handed a book by a colleague of his for safekeeping, as it was believed to have been involved in some kind of dark magic cult or satanic order or something. The only thing that I could think to do, short of praying, was bastardizing their work, seeing if it had an opposite effect.
So the book is not from this village?
No. And I've spoken to a few people, and actually it seems that while they obviously didn't stop what was happening, they may have dimmed it a little. We also tried to use the symbol to stop Jacob from getting to certain other places in the village that he had no place being.
Like where? Like the church bell tower?
The priest nods. I see you've been adventuring, Dr. Wallace.
Please excuse me.
Can't say I blame you.
She looks a bit bashful, surprisingly, given everything. But what sort of hold is this you're talking about, though? I mean, I can understand the rest of this, I suppose, but is this all around the Menzies, now Jacob, some sort of hold on everyone?
It's very difficult to explain. It doesn't seem to be anything solid or specific. It just seems that whenever he needs them to do something, they do it. Like you'll have seen when they all left their homes at the same time with no warning.
That was weird.
So it's clear that we owe you a debt, but I'm still confused about how we What might they want with some weary travellers?
They don't. The priest says they don't want you. It's coincidence. Some joke of the devil, perhaps, that you happen to be here at this time. We've just been trying our best to keep you out of it. Even the way that Jacob has been speaking to you in the interactions that you've had, he's also happy to keep you out of it. He's been trying to scare you off without doing anything that's so drastic that you feel the need to come back with any kind of backup, I suppose, and just weird you out and get you to be on your way.
But wait, this gives out an even scarier implication. If Jacob is not intending in any way to be affecting us with this power, that means he doesn't control it. It's incidentally affected us anyway. And clearly you can't control it either, even with this spell of yours that was cast on the door.
No, it seems not.
Do you think then Jacob is not the culprit here, but is instead part of being caught up in this thing?
Maybe. It seems to be, from my research, something that goes back 300 years.
Have you tried to leave?
The priest says, I obviously went for a few years. I felt that my return was out of choice, but who can say?
So it affects everyone in the end here. Or even us. You're just traveling for a short time.
We've been trying to keep you safe, and in our downtime, we've been trying to get Patrick to not play his part or to leave town. But obviously, again, they've just been stuck here from one thing or another. And it's just...
Do you know what happened last time? It wasn't carried out by the Douglas family.
I wasn't aware that there was a time it hadn't been carried out.
Jemima looks awkward again and then looks at the others.
Yeah, tell them, Jemima.
We found a diary, the Menzies diary, that implied or had note going back a long way, right back to the first of the rituals. It also mentioned a time 100, 150 years ago when it wasn't completed. And there was a great famine for years afterwards in the village. It's almost like it's not a positive, it's preventing a negative somehow. The whole village has been recruited by Menzies or something else to ensure that everything stays as it is.
Well, I believe that whatever it is close to being over, and I'd like Duncan here to just try and keep you all safe. There was another with you. Is she safe?
She's upstairs.
It's been trying on all of us. She suffered particularly.
Of course.
We've seen
physically,
some
she's safe.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
We've seen some strange things. You must have seen more, I suppose. How have you, and I gesture at both Duncan and do we know? Do we just call him the priest? We don't actually know his name yet, do we?
The Duncan has referred to him before as Jonny Moore.
Okay, more. Okay. I won't say his name now, but I probably will have remembered that at some point. I kind of gesture at Duncan and Mr. Moore and say, how have you not been so affected by it? And Mr. Douglas, have you done something to make sure you're not?
No.
So you don't know?
I have some belief in myself that maybe the things that I've seen, I don't know, he says, and kind of puts his head down.
I guess I look at Duncan too to see if he has anything to say. But
Duncan says, apart from being the best friend that Jonny Moore here has, I'm not sure what my saving grace is.
But you must have tried to figure something out in all this, surely. I mean, this has been going on for so long, and it's so strange.
It's been going on in the village for hundreds of years, but for us, it's been going on for 3 days.
This has only just started. It was perfectly normal before this. So, people wouldn't follow Menzies' command? Like that?
Not that I noticed. I don't know if there was ever any need to.
So how did you know about the cross on the door if it was only 3 days ago?
As I say, when something strange started happening and the weird things, I just thought I'd try something. What was the worst that could happen? Since then, I've spoken to other people and it seems that it may have done something. At the time, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I'd caused any strangeness, but it doesn't seem so.
I guess I kind of look at Dane and Melvin a little bit like, that doesn't seem like the whole story.
So, if we're to take you at your word, what do we do next? Are you saying you also have no idea? Maybe there's something additional we can do that we've not thought of, that you've not tried?
The closest thing that I can think to a sure thing is for you to get through tonight and head back to Thornhill tomorrow. Even if that means dragging your luggage behind you on foot.
Are you going to try and stop it? The final part of the ritual?
The priest puts his head up and goes, I wouldn't even know how.
So this is out of character. So as far as we're concerned, what we know of the ritual is them getting buried outside and then sort of reburied inside. Do we know anything more?
The first buried
Jemima
inside.
thought that there was then something else afterwards, but wasn't exactly sure what.
Yeah,
it seems to be sort of the closing ceremony almost of the.
It was the weird language
ritual.
that I couldn't really read, and there was some creepiness to the last bit.
Okay, Melvin will probably say something along, say, well, what more is there to this ritual then, other than, reburying a body? It is odd, but it's not necessarily, satanic or witchcraft. What part of it causes all, this?
I think your guess is as good as theirs, Melvin. I get the sense, Mr. Moore, that deep down all you want is to stop all these terrible things happening. Maybe we could help. There are only two of you, and I suppose Mr. Douglas, who seems... You know we're not affected by this. Everyone else is. Do you think you could do it by yourselves if that's what you want? Either that or run for your lives, I suppose.
Short of creating some kind of barrier around the grave, I'm not sure what else we can do.
If we really think it's the right thing to stop it happening, you said Douglas. Mr. Douglas didn't want to do it, right? So he's not under control of this for some reason.
It seems that way.
Strange. Seems like he'd be a very important person to control.
Maybe there's some kind of thing around free will. Like Adam and Eve.
So if we want to try and... I guess we could either try and stop it or try and figure out what is going on by witnessing it. Jemima says with an awkward glance around the table.
Was there anything else in the book, Jemima, that referenced what the next steps might be?
I didn't get it. Was there the word calling in that bit, Jonny, or am I remembering incorrectly?
No, that was what you... That was from your other book, Duncan's book.
Yeah.
There seemed to be some kind of spells around summoning or calling something.
Yeah.
But in the sort of in the family Bible thing, there wasn't anything like that.
Okay. So all I'll say is all I can say is that the writings were very similar to the ones in that book, gesturing at the one Duncan put away. But I didn't have time to read them properly or try and figure out what it meant. I still think the key to all this is figuring out why some people are not affected by it. Why Mr. Douglas and why you two? Perhaps Mr. Douglas is part of this, as you say, because free will is important, but then why would you not be affected? Perhaps you're a holy man, and that means you are immune. Duncan, are you a man of faith?
I am, but not to the degree of Reverend Moore here, I'm sure.
And do Mr. Douglas?
Again, he attends church on a Sunday. I'm not sure how devout he is.
And everyone else in the village, I'm assuming, also attends church normally.
They do.
So there's no way of knowing if they believe it or not.
Mr. Douglas must have some idea about what's coming next. If Jacob needs him, if he has to be utilized in some way. We did visit him, and he was very reluctant to tell us any more unless we were able to get him and his family out. which seems unlikely at this point, but I don't know. And again, gestures broadly to everyone at the table. Does anyone think they might be able to talk him round to revealing a bit more?
I imagine he'd want to help if it stops all this. He clearly doesn't want it to go ahead.
I
He's
think
just
if he knows,
scared.
there's more of us willing to help him. It might persuade him to be a bit more forthcoming with information.
Perhaps one of you could talk to him. I look at those two more and Duncan.
Or we could ask him to come here.
Yes, exactly. Go ask him. His safest place surely is here now, I'd imagine.
You're probably right, says Duncan.
And without wanting to sound overly concerned, but if we think that the symbol might help, then can I suggest we start to put that on the door, put that on the windows, wherever we can. In the meantime,
Jemima wrings her hands.
well, Mr. Douglas has met me and Willie before. It didn't make the best impression, but at the same time, we ended on friendly terms. Perhaps I can try and speak to him again.
Willie says, Aye, I'll come with you.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll see you soon. Then I'll start to head out.
Yeah, Willie heads out with you. So it's dark at this point. The square is lit. It's fine. And as you are heading across the square towards the Douglas's home, you see a pair of lights coming down the main road from sort of the Thornhill Road, and hear the sound of a motor car engine.
No way.
So, how far are we away from the pub at this point where we see the...
20 feet.
Okay. Would there be time to run into the pub and back out before it went past, or would we have missed it?
No, you wouldn't have missed it, no.
Okay. Dane's going to peg it back to the pub and basically grab Melvin and say, come here, come outside, and almost drag him out.
Yeah, I guess Melvin gets dragged out.
Yeah. So you see a motor car coming towards you.
Melvin, is that your uncle?
I don't know. I don't think I told him I was here yet. He wasn't in the office when I called last. Is it my uncle's car, Jonny?
The car pulls to a stop just outside the pub, and Melvin's uncle steps out.
Oh God. Uncle.
Hello, Melvin.
Thank God you're here. I'm guessing they told you where we were then.
I spoke to the train authorities, and they informed me of where you've been put up for one night.
Well, it was the weather. Ask anyone.
I'm sure. Should we be on our way, Melvin?
Well, there's a few people that from the train. If there's room.
So who's outside at this point? Dane, Willie, is Jemima outside?
I would have walked outside.
Okay. These three, is it?
Have the other two followed us? Sorry.
No, they're still inside.
And one more.
Wait, I said to the Douglases we could help them. How many more people can we get in here?
I couldn't take any more than that. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm willing to take you.
Uncle, please, they've got places to be as well.
So do I, Melvin. I had a place for you to be 2 days ago.
Jemima goes, she kind of butts in and goes, it's okay, I'll stay.
There's a family here who are very, very sick. It's not a problem, but they need to. Can you drop them off at the other village? You don't have to take them up to Glasgow.
Contagious sick?
No, nothing like that. Just to the next village.
Do you know what? I think Melvin's feeling generous. And I think when we get to Thornhill, Melvin is going to pay a taxi cab to come down here and pick those people up. That's what I think.
I mean, they are really sick, Uncle. They could really do with going as soon as possible.
Are you going to get in this car quicker if I agree to take them?
He sort of looks around at this point. He's like, well, is there no room for everyone?
You can visibly see there is not room for everybody in the car.
I like the idea that Melvin would still have asked that.
Just imagine all these clowns getting out, like 50 of them, to make room. Look, they're just on the road. I'll lead you down.
Bring them here. I've travelled enough as it is.
Okay. So I don't know if Jemima's on board with this, but I think Dane's thinking is that if we get the Douglases away, then perhaps the situation kind of resolves itself. Maybe that's better than us getting away. But is Jemima sort of angling to get in the car, or?
Jemima already said she'll stay.
Okay, so in that case, yeah. So I think Dane is going to kind of rush off to the Douglas's house and just say, please stay where you are. I will be 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is there visibly enough room for 4 people in the car, as in those 3 and Melvin?
Yes.
Okay.
I will squeeze. Yeah, it's not technically probably all right, but they can fit. You know, the girl can sit on a parent's knee or something. Like you could get them in.
I will look around and watch Dane going, kind of like for a moment, and then pat Melvin on the back and go, "It's okay, Melvin, you can go."
What about you guys? What about Miss Smith upstairs? She can't be here, surely.
I probably won't say anything more.
Okay, Dane gets to the Douglas's house, and all the lights are off, and the door is slightly ajar.
So he's going to knock.
The door creaks open to sort of full openness. You can't see anybody inside.
Mr. Douglas, there's some urgency. Where are you?
Nothing.
Okay, so is it so dark that I probably wouldn't head inside to look around?
Unless you wanted to light the gas lamps as you were going around, which you could do.
Okay, kind of conscious of time here. Yeah, I think I'll turn the nearest gaslight on again to the door, just to try and, I guess, see as much as possible without having to head right in.
Yeah.
You could pick up those old gaslights, couldn't you? So you could maybe.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. As you light it, you see that there is some sign of a struggle here.
Right. Does it look like? I guess, is there any sign of anyone being taken out of the? I don't know what it would be like, but yeah, there's not like a.
There's no like
into the
obvious.
door or anything.
No, nothing like that. Just kind of a few things knocked over. Obviously, you were in here, a number less than an hour ago, and
Yeah.
you saw what it looked like then, and it is in considerable disarray from that time.
Okay.
So either there has been a struggle, or they have left so quickly that they've sent things fly. Either of which, probably at this point, you view as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, I think just for like his own peace of mind, he will go with the lamp upstairs to where he saw the child and the wife be kind of sent away, just to
Okay.
check.
So you go upstairs to one large bedroom, basically the floor, and you can't see anybody. So there's two beds up here and a wardrobe and a chest of drawers.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think Dane's in a bit of a hurry at this point because he's conscious that Melvin's uncle might just disappear off any moment. So I think he's gonna head back out, turn off the lamp, hang it back up, close the door, and then just maybe even shout down the street.
Okay, just as you head out, can you make me a survival roll?
Yes, I can. Okay, so I need 60 here.
I was going to say I didn't know what yours was, but I presumed it would be reasonable, probably for Dane.
Yeah, and I rolled a 58.
Okay.
Just past it.
You catch the faint whiff on the air of a fire some distance away.
Okay.
Like a kind of campfire smell.
Okay.
Which you hadn't smelt previously or hadn't noticed was there.
Does he have any sense of the direction that this is coming from, or just kind of? I guess you wouldn't really, would you? You just.
Are you going to look around upon noticing this, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe scanning the
Okay.
horizon for any light or something.
Yeah, on the hill behind the village, you notice the light of what looks like a fire on top of the hill behind the village.
Okay. So
you also, as you're sort of looking around and stuff, you actually realize that barring the pub, there are no lights on in any of the buildings in the village.
Okay. So I think Dane will run back to the car, and just kind of head over to Jemima and Melvin and say, I think it's starting. Whatever is happening, I think it's already started. You should leave.
Were they gone?
Everybody's gone. I think they're up on the hill. I don't know if we can see from here, but there's a fire or something happening. I think they're all
Yeah,
up there.
if you point it out, they'd be able to. They'd
Okay.
notice the glimmer of light up there.
I will kind of lean into the pub and say, it's starting, whatever it is. Something is starting.
They both kind of get up from their chairs, knock the stools over behind them, and run outside.
I'll point out the fire. And the lights, I guess.
And the priest basically goes, but and then turns around and runs over towards the church.
I will follow him immediately.
As you get there, the grave out the front is now empty, just a hole.
I think while that's happening, Dane is going to he's going to head upstairs and get Esther, try and get Esther in the car, and encourage Melvin to leave with his uncle.
Okay. Yes, you managed to get Esther down. She's in a similar kind of state to previously when Jemima was helping her. So she's not dead weighted. You know, she'll kind of, if you move her along, she'll walk down the stairs with a bit of support. And you can get her into the car. And Melvin's uncle kind of gives her...
Just the one. And then I think Dane will then follow the priest and Jemima, kind of give Melvin a quick nod and a wave. And
Poor Melvin. Oh.
What's Melvin doing?
Oh no!
He's going to say to his uncle, you know, sort of, just 1 second, and with that, he's going to go back upstairs. He's going to get the documents, which I presume are still in his room. They've not been taken for some sort of nefarious ritual.
Yep.
And he's going to come down, sort of hand them to his uncle, and say, just, you know, here's the documents. Just take Miss Smith to Glasgow, and I'll be there when I can.
Melvin, get in the goddamn car.
I can't leave them.
What are you talking about?
He says, well, I just can't. I'll be there as when I can. And sort of he says this as he's going to start heading towards the church.
Okay, as you're heading over, are you sort of going at a bit of a run?
Yeah, he's trying to get out of there.
Okay, you get like a Melvin.
Yeah, he's not looking behind him. I think at this point it's easier to not.
Great.
Was that Melvin shout loud enough for us to hear at the church?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I smile as I see probably Dane coming up.
So yeah, as everybody gets there, they see the same scene, which is that the grave is empty. And as the later ones get there, the priest is kind of fiddling with his keys at the door, but his hand's shaking, and he's kind of like dropping the ring of keys, and then he manages to unlock the door, heads inside, lights a lamp, and then goes over towards the stone. And he's kind of feeling around the edge as you had done the previous day, and he's like, sealed up. Hove the...
What can we do? We need to do something, surely now.
It's done. I don't think there's anything we can do.
Maybe could we try and lift the stone, break the stone? Jemima's kind of panicky.
I'm not going to have that happen in my church.
Maybe
Melvin will say something like, "Well, you know, I just stood up to my uncle somewhat for the first time. You know, I can't be ready for nothing. It's got to be something we can do." Well, what's the fire? What's that?
I don't know.
I guess we better go find out then.
The priest just kind of kneeling on the floor still in front of the stone.
Duncan, do you think you should get that book again? We might need it.
Aye, it's probably a good idea. Willie says, I hate to do this, but would you all think less of me if I got in Melvin's uncle's car?
If he's still here, you go ahead.
Someone should make sure. he takes care of her.
That's probably a good idea.
I'll do that. I'll make sure Miss Smith's okay. Look me up. Stay safe. And Willie bolts out of the church. And about 5 seconds after he gets out of the church, you hear the sound of a car starting. And you kind of hear the muffled shout of Willie shouting. You're unsure at this point whether he managed to get in the car or not before it set off.
Oh, that was so cruel.
Right. The book. Duncan heads outside.
Mm-hmm. I will also head outside and I will look around the grave to see, one, if it looks like it, and if there's anything I can find interesting about it, and two, I want to grab a shovel.
Okay, yeah, this time there is a shovel still left there.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anything interesting about the grave. There's nothing
me.
still in there or anything like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a 6-foot deep hole.
Okay, cool. You will see me as you come out of the church holding a shovel, slightly wild-eyed.
Then he's going to nip back to the pub to get his hunting knife and then come back.
Cool. So basically everybody's heading to the pub, aren't they, I think, at this point?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Duncan's going to get the book. Yeah, cool.
Melvin, you're going to get your pen.
Oh, yeah, his pen and his latest novel.
You presume that Willie has got in the car because he's not anywhere to be seen as you come outside. The fire up on top of the hill is a little more obvious now. It seems to have grown slightly. And Matt, make me a look roll.
Does Duncan have the book? Did he pick it up?
Yes, he's come out of the back with the book now.
Okay, cool. While Dane is... Oh, sorry, go on. You do your look.
That's okay. I need below 80 and I rolled 66.
Okay. You forgot to load Esther with her bag, which has her gun in it.
Okay.
So that is still in the room.
Okay.
As well.
100% grabbing that. Plus any ammunition she might have in there.
Yeah. I will get the stats for that for you.
Given that, I will also hand the hunting knife to Melvin.
He'll sort of take it, and I imagine you can tell by the way he holds it, he's not a fighter, especially with a knife. But yeah, he'll sort of take it because I suppose it's better than nothing if they're going to fight or if it's going to go belly up.
While we're kind of presumably heading up the hill a bit now, I turn to Duncan and go, do you know what you're doing with that, gesturing at the book?
Well, as much as anybody, I suppose.
Seems like it's not really meant for any of us to understand it properly, doesn't it?
Certainly, anybody who doesn't speak a goodness knows how old language.
Be careful with it. It gets into your head. I'm sure you know it already.
I do. Right. I think unfortunately Jonny Moore might be lost to us for the moment, so we should probably be on our way.
Wait, did he not come out the church?
He stayed kneeling at the stone as he... That was the last time he saw him.
Oh.
He seems to be taking it quite badly.
I don't think Jemima says anything for a while, and then she mutters under her breath, "Good thing you've got us, then, I suppose."
Seems that way. Right. I know a good way up. And he sets off walking and is kind of presuming that you will all follow him. So you pass through the empty streets towards the priest's house, and out past the end of the village, sort of the way that you were going to get to the lake. And you actually pass. You go further than you would expect to go to get up. You're sort of going past it, and then he turns, and there's sort of a little sort of cliffside path that winds up from this side, and he kind of quietly calls back to you. This isn't the standard way to go. So if they're keeping an eye out for anybody, then maybe they won't spot us.
Good plan.
So you keep heading up, and you kind of crest the top, and you can see about 100 feet away from you, sort of the top of this fire coming out above some trees that are around. And as you get to sort of within 50 feet, you come towards the edge of a clearing, in which is a stone circle, kind of encased by this tree line. And there's a fire at the center of it. You see a number of silhouetted figures around the fire on each side. The ones on the other side you can see look to be members of the village, again in their sort of funeral attire. That's all you can see from here.
Can we see Mr. Douglas? Probably too difficult to tell.
You can't make him out from here. It could be that he has his back to you if he is there. There's probably 30 people that you couldn't tell who they are because you can't see their faces.
And there's no one prominent like Mr. Menzies or anything around, obviously.
Again, not that you can obviously see from here. There's a total of about 60 people.
Are they doing anything or just standing there?
Currently, you think you might be able to make out some kind of low humming, either literally a hum or maybe some kind of chanting. There doesn't seem to be much movement, apart from the sort of flickering of the fire. And no sounds of distress.
Should we get closer? I can't see Mr. Douglas.
Yeah, I suppose, sneak closer.
Okay. Anyone who wants to move closer, can you make a stealth roll, please?
Yay. I'm really bad at this, but I still want to do it, so I guess it's time to fail a stealth roll. And maybe use luck. Oh my god, I didn't fail the stealth roll.
Nice.
I passed also.
I'm gonna hang back a little bit.
I actually get to tick my stealth. Oh my god.
Nice. So Dane's hanging back. I think that Duncan is going to push up with you two. So you get to within about 20 feet and you manage to kind of hide behind this like bushy area and peer up over. So you've got a much better view from here. You cannot see Patrick or Catherine Douglas, the parents, but you can see that the young girl, Agnes, is tied and seems to be unconscious on a sort of stone table around that's near the center of this stone circle. And then you see Jacob Menzies stood quite near the fire. I think if we could have Jacob up again, Matt, be great. And there seems to be some kind of low chatter as he's sort of wandering around the center here. And then he kind of raises his hands and says, "Well, everyone, the time has come once again for the knowledge of hundreds of years to pass to another Menzies. My ancestor William was robbed of his rightful home after his death by a Douglas, but he had the strength and fortitude to come back and have his son Adam take his revenge on the Douglases. So it has been, and so it shall always be, until the debt is repaid." And you see him start to walk towards Agnes.
Can Dane see this as well from where he is?
He certainly would have heard something. Can you make a listen roll for me, Matt, for Dane?
Sure thing.
Given that Dane is a distance where it's not easy for him to see, I would be looking back at Dane kind of like urgent. And I will also kind of look at Duncan and be like kind of whispering, mouthing as quiet as I can. Just like, what do we do?
I really failed the listen roll. 72 for 20.
Okay, so you heard definitely Jacob's voice saying something. You couldn't make out what most of it was.
So I think David might try and move forward if he recognises the voice, even if he didn't hear.
Okay, do you want to make me a stealth roll then for your move forward?
I don't think it's going to go well. I need 20 or below. 90.
Luck.
Right. If you want to make this roll, which is up to you, but you have options of you could theoretically spend 70 luck if you have it in order to or you can push the roll, which is a re-roll, but if you fail, it will be worse than if you failed a normal roll.
See, that's not even a good chance.
Can I use luck after I push the roll or not?
I think I read something about this the other day. That's a good question.
Sorry for that. You can see how confident I am about that second
Literally
roll.
spend all of your luck.
I have 80 luck left. So.
Oh, you have 80? You got tons.
Swimming in luck.
Spending luck.
You can't push a roll and then spend luck.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it says that there. Oh.
I mean, part of me is like he's got the firearm, so it's not the end of the world if he's at range a little bit, but yeah, you know what? No, maybe not. It's really hard.
While Dane is making up his mind about this, does Duncan? I'm kind of like, what should we do at Duncan? Does he do anything or say like mouth anything at me?
I think we're still in the time that Jacob is speaking at the moment. I know Matt's taking his time to decide what he's doing, but Dane is kind of sneaking up at this point. Yeah, so this is still while Jacob is speaking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
So we'll see what happens here first.
This might change everything. Yeah.
I'm going to spend my luck. I'm going to spend 70 luck.
Okay. So that's a pass. And you manage to sneak up to within the 20 feet. So you catch the end of what he's saying, which is the part where he said, "Take his revenge upon the Douglases. So it has been, and so it shall always be until the debt is repaid." And you then see him walking towards Agnes, who seems to be tied and unconscious on a stone slab.
I will give you an urgent, we need to do something about this look, but not sure what to do as you successfully sneak up. Very luckily. So does Duncan react now that the speaking has ended? Is he like got the book trying to do something? Is he mouthed anything at me?
He's kind of flicking through the book.
I knew this would happen. I guess I'll kind of mouth at Dane and Melvin, both of you, like, we have to stop this, I think.
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
And then probably that poor girl.
I could fancy a shot from here if I hadn't used all my luck.
But Dane doesn't know that he's got luck points that he's just
That's true.
spent.
Dane doesn't know. Yeah, Dane just got lucky. It's true. You got a better chance than me with my shovel. I guess you're trying to lean towards the death spell here. I mean, it does cross your mind.
I'm not leaning towards anything. You can leave if you want to. It's not up to me what you do. You have complete agency.
What? This is a bit of an awkward roleplay question. What would my act of initiating the spell be? Do I know that, given that I've learnt it but never tried it before?
Yeah. So the actual sort of act of this spell is verbal. So it's words that you would speak.
Would it have to be loud, like they would hear it loud?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Just seems so unlikely that it's even going to succeed as well. Because he's probably got high power, and it does so much damage to me. Such a bad idea. Yeah, that's something the chat don't know if they're thinking, oh, you should cast that spell. I have to hurt myself to cast it. I don't even have enough mana points to cast it and go insane. But Jemima's thinking about it. I think in roleplay terms, if Dane doesn't act, what is he doing? What is Menzies doing? Go on.
So he's walking towards Agnes from where he was, and she is on a stone table next to a large fire.
Okay. Yeah, I'm watching Dane to see if he's acting first, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think he's 100% getting the pistol out. I guess, and again, this is a total roleplay noob question, but if Dane isn't very good with firearms, with a pistol, is he sort of conscious of that to a certain degree? I know with luck, obviously, he wouldn't know about that, but he would be aware of his own abilities.
You would be aware of you maybe haven't fired a gun before. You might think, I don't know if I'm very good at this.
I've got skill in something else, unfortunately. So I guess crucial for him is going to be if he shoots at Jacob and thinks he's going to miss, is it likely that he might hit someone else, or is Jacob so kind of separate from everyone else? So he's walking towards Agnes.
Everybody else is sort of circled around. So if you miss him, you might hit somebody else in the circle. You would have to miss quite badly to hit Agnes because she's at the side and lower down than sort of his center of mass. But yeah.
I just checked. I would have to go down to 4 hit points to cast this spell. That's almost dead.
Is there any space between the crowd and where we are at the moment that you could sort of move a bit closer? Kind of. He's trying to think of any way to make this shot less risky.
You could move a bit closer, and I would say that you would need to pass an easy stealth roll because now the crowd are all paying the most attention to what's going on with Menzies. So I reckon that you could get to sort of within 10 feet of the crowd and therefore about 15 feet of Jacob.
Yeah, I feel like Dane might give that a go.
Okay.
I guess he's aware of the spell, but it feels like a last resort because he hates the book. I don't think he wants to utilize anything from it. If it's all
You're
possible.
also, I think Dane would also be aware that, while you might think, oh, Jemima knows what she's talking about, it's translation from some weird language that's maybe something kind of based around Latin, and actually you don't know whether it would do anything or would do something, adverse to you, or if it's even real.
Jemima is also trying to give across that she is not confident.
Okay, in that case, up there, 100%, he will try and.
Okay, give me that stealth
the
roll. Give me that easy stealth roll, so it's under double your stealth stat.
Still not great. So it goes from 20 to 40. Well, 65.
Of course.
Can I push that one or?
You can push that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 22.
Whoa, nice. So, yes, you managed to get to within sort of touching distance of the crowd, if that's how close you want to get, while still feeling comfortable that you're being quiet. So you're probably within about 10 feet of Jacob at this point. Are you going to try and shoot him?
Yeah.
Okay. So. Right. In that case, what's Dane's dex?
75.
Interesting. You count as point blank range in rules terms, which means that you get a bonus die. Okay, so if you roll to shoot, so make a D100 roll and compare it with your firearm skill.
Okay. My firearms rifle shotgun is 35, but firearms handgun is only 20.
Okay.
So let me just give that a roll. $36. So I didn't pass.
How do the bonus die work?
Is it a replacement for the tens die or something? I don't know whether that sounds familiar.
It must be in the cheat sheet, surely.
I'll just throw the handgun afterwards, I guess.
You roll an additional tens die and use the lowest result.
Yeah, that's the one.
So
just found.
what did you say you rolled? A 36?
Yeah.
So if you can roll another dice, and then if you get a 1, a 2, or a 0, then that will be that instead.
Mm-hmm.
No, I rolled a 5.
Okay. So
You can always push it.
you could always push
I'm
it.
such a devil's advocate. I'm so sorry.
Can you push attack rolls?
Oh, good point. Not sure if you can.
Oh no, it might just be skill rolls actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not 'cause I want us to fail, but just.
So, you fire the gun, and you don't see anybody drop, but everybody turns around and looks at you, and the nearest person is about 5 feet away from you.
Okay, so this is it's a one-shot handgun, right?
I think
1 per round, yeah.
Okay, so it's not like I've got another round in me.
The second no one drops. Sorry, go
on. Although I would say that what's Dane's dex?
75.
High. Yeah, so that's gonna probably beat everybody that's here. So you probably would get another shot before anybody else did anything to you, or you could run away or do anything else. But you probably get another action before anybody else does anything. Is what I mean. And if any of you want to get involved in what's going on, then you kind of drop into Dex order.
Okay, cool.
So it feels like running away isn't going to really help very much. So I think he will try and would try and reload and have another pop.
Great, go for it.
And it's still close range, so do I roll 3d10 basically?
Yeah, so if you're using a dice roller, then say that the one that's on the right is your units, and the two left-hand ones can be your 2 tens dice. So whichever you get lowest on those two is your 10s.
Okay, so I can make this a 9 roll. So
a 9.
Nice.
Great. In that case, you do 1d6 damage, I think it was, don't you? Yeah.
Yep. Thank goodness for that. Sorry. Browser 3.
Okay. So Jacob kind of turns round to look at you after the first shot, and then you basically hit him square in the shoulder, and he kind of spins a couple of times before he hits the floor. And the people nearest you kind of cover their ears because you've unloaded this sort of, you're literally about arm's reach away from them. So you've essentially kind of popped this right in their ears, and they're kind of, in a lot of pain visibly from this. And then quite a lot of people turn around to look at Jacob. And then some kind of turn back and look at you. What are Jemima and Melvin doing?
Are we kind of in turn order?
Yes.
My dex is 50.
Mine's 85, so I'm probably going
Damn.
before.
Melvin's quick.
Yeah, he's speedy to run away from all the bullies in life. I think seeing Jacob go down, he's going to start sprinting towards Agnes, isn't it, the little girl?
Yes.
Oh, brave Melvin. Oh.
He's found a streak of bravery now. He's going to start sort of sprinting towards her to try and be a hero and rescue her, which always goes well in Call of Cthulhu, right?
Okay, can you make me let's say a dex roll for Melvin? You've just bragged about how high it is, so good.
Yeah,
okay.
Passed.
Great. Okay, you managed to get to Agnes. A couple of people, as you sort of head there, sort of try and grab hold of you as you're passing them, but you managed to kind of, American football shoulder move yourself away from them, and you get to Agnes and pick her up, if that's what you're planning on doing.
Yeah, try and sort of
Okay.
get her away from this creepy stone table.
Cool. Jemima.
I have seen Melvin actively pick up Agnes then.
Yep.
And Menzies has gone down, and I don't know, what's happened to him exactly. He's just been basically immediately gone down. Okay. What do the people in the circle seem to be reacting to us other than vaguely grabbing us? Do they look like they're about to try and murderously jump on Dane, or is it difficult to tell?
They look really shocked by what's happened. And there are a few around Dane who, as I said, are sort of hands on their ears because he's unloaded a firearm right near their ears. There seems to be a lot of confusion. A couple of people do look angry and are sort of vaguely moving in the direction of where you lot are, not necessarily towards one person in particular.
Okay.
And then the majority are just looking a little sort of confused about what's going on. And
Okay, I think I will turn to Duncan and say really quickly, we need to stop his hold over them. And then I'll be like, kill him, or can that book help?
I don't know.
And then I might just say, try the cross, and then jump up and try and follow Melvin, but I probably haven't got anywhere.
Okay. Right. Jacob peels himself up off the floor, hand sort of on this shoulder, like lifts himself up using that arm, and then hand on that shoulder, and is facing the other way because of how he spun and fell over, and then kind of turns round and looks towards you. Sees Dane and goes, "You," and starts walking over towards you.
As Dame wishing he kept that knife now.
And then as he's walking over, he kind of looks to his left and spots Melvin with Agnes. And kind of pauses for a second. And then we'll move round again. So what's Dane doing?
I'm not sure how much ammunition I had. Wait a minute, let me just check. So was there much in the way of other ammunition in the bag?
I think there probably was more than 2 shots.
Yeah, I would say that you had probably 4.
Okay. So I think, to be honest, Dane will try and join the nearest of Jemima or Melvin.
Okay. They're basically together over there.
Okay. Yeah, I think he will assume that he will run a bit. He's assuming he can run a bit quicker than Jacob can in his state, so he's gonna head on over back to there.
Okay. So you 3 are now all together. Jacob is sort of 10 feet away from you. Melvin.
He's probably, I imagine he's still sort of carrying Agnes, and he's got the knife. And he's sort of looking at the others and like, run.
Go.
Sort of, backing away and start running into the woods.
Okay.
To get out of there. Because I suppose he sees if they're going to sacrifice her, if they haven't got her, hopefully it foils their plans.
Okay. Is everybody basically just running into the woods? And are you running back towards the village or away from the village?
It depends if we're being chased, I think.
Jacob certainly is heading after you.
Okay. As long as I'm sure he's following, yes. I don't
towards
want
the
to
village or away?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm following Melvin, so...
I think Melvin would have ran, presuming they sort of came out of the tree line and started crawling. Pretty much, I imagine the way back towards the tree line is the shortest way that they came.
So the way you've come, kind of thing.
Yeah, the shortest way into the tree line, and then I think he's going to try and head back to the village.
Okay.
Obviously, if he's in the front, who knows?
Great. Can you each please make me dex rolls?
Where's Duncan, by the way?
Duncan, upon seeing as you kind of pass to come back towards the tree line, he just basically gets up and comes with you.
Okay, cool.
That's a pass here.
Yeah, pass.
Yep, pass.
Okay.
5%.
As you get further into the trees, if anybody looks back, you note that you are getting further and further away from Jacob. He's slowed slightly, you would presume, by his injury. He's potentially feeling a bit woozy, in shock. And you break out of the tree line and kind of get back to the downward slope down the edge of the sort of cliff. Can you make another dex roll, please? And tell me what you actually get as well under your or over.
I had a really, really bad roll, 96, with a dex of 75.
Okay.
I got under a quarter of mine.
Nice.
I've got 85 and I rolled 54, so that's
okay.
31 under it.
Okay. As you are heading down this sort of rocky steps down the edge of this thing, what order do you think you would have been in?
I imagine Melvin's first with the girl.
Jemima was, assuming we were safely ahead of him, Jemima was kind of thinking of taking up the rear and almost trying to keep an eye on Menzies.
Okay. Dane takes a tumble as you are heading down these steps. And it's going to take you a good few seconds to recover. I will say that Duncan is ahead of you. So is Jemima waiting and helping Dane up, or heading sort of, leaping over and continuing?
I'm not that heartless, Jesus. Yeah, helping Dane up.
Okay. In that case, you hear Jacob coming up behind you now at some pace, saying, "Bring her back."
I will look at Dane and say, "Is that loaded?"
I don't think it is, but yeah. I don't think he had the chance to reload after that second shot. Yeah.
If Dane's reply is an uncertain, I don't think that is, then I think I will try and drag Dane off with me.
Matt, I am happy narratively for you to have been reloading it while moving.
While running. Okay.
If you think Dane would have tried that and then upon realizing he could have done it, then that's fine.
Yeah, it would have been forefront of his mind to try that, I think.
Okay.
Possible,
in that case, yes, it is loaded.
Okay. So I will just nod.
Okay. In that case, Jemima nods as well and raises her shovel.
Okay, so you're making a bit of a stand. Is that the case? Are you kind of making a bit of a stand at him?
I think so.
Before we engage, I'm gonna ask Jemima, are you any good with these? Kind of holding the gun up. Okay. If not, then yeah. I will have a shot.
Okay. Yeah. So are you waiting until he gets reasonably close? Or are you going to take one shot when he's further away with the thought that you could get another one in before he gets closer?
Yeah, 2 bullets left. I think that's what we would do.
Okay, great. So if you make one shot when he's further away, so you don't get your bonus dice on this.
Okay. Still need under 20 or 20 or under. 46, no.
Okay. So this one you get your bonus dice.
Okay.
Can I, while this is going on, try with all the distraction of the gunshot and everything, try and secrete myself so I'm kind of hidden? So if Jacob would suddenly try and jump on...
there'll be a kind of crevicey bit in the edge of the rock.
So my intention is
behind.
If Dane is kind of obviously shooting at Jacob and missing, maybe I can as Jacob leaps on him, kind of try and whack him on the back of the head or something.
Yeah.
So I rolled an 18, so pass.
Great. Roll your d6 damage.
Okay. 2.
Okay. So he, you hit him probably in the other shoulder, and he staggers a bit, but doesn't stop and kind of keeps on coming towards you. You're presumably aware that Jemima is kind of waiting there.
I think we should run. You have a shovel and I have a hairpin.
I
Let's
will.
go.
If you start running, I will follow you running, assuming he's not about to jump on top of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So everybody's heading back to the village.
Mhm.
Melvin, presumably, have you continued running
Yeah, he's just
with Agnes?
dragging it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So one more lot of dex rolls, I think, please, from everybody.
If we both fail this, I'm going to blame you, Dane. I was so ready.
That's a pass here. 17.
It's a fail.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know what I was bragging about?
I'm
Melvin's
gonna
high dex.
No, it's a 50-50. Am I gonna push it or I'm gonna spend some luck? If I push it and it goes wrong and I can't spend luck. I haven't spent any luck. I'm gonna spend some luck.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you sort that out yourself. That's fine.
Look to get it because I rolled 95. I need 85, so I don't think 10 looks a lot in this circumstance.
Okay. So you both kind of have little stumbles, but manage to right yourself without, managing to lose too much time. As you are heading back into the village proper, you see the cart that you came into town on there, sort of in front of the war memorial. And somebody sat in the driver's seat.
All right, I think, sort of gonna run up to the cart then, and maybe not throw her in the back, as in like that, but hastily put her in the back and sort of go round to the front and sort of climb aboard.
Who's in the cart? It better not be other Menzies family. You just put her in the cart and the Menzies ride off.
Yeah.
As Melvin gets in the front, it's the priest in the cart. So Jemima and Dane also jumping in.
Yep, jump in.
Okay. You as you get in, the priest kind of sets the horses off. Jacob seems to be shaken out of his shock and is tearing towards the cart, and then peels off and into his house. And then anybody looking backwards sees him reappear a moment later, holding a rifle.
Fair.
And
roll of the dice.
Dane, you hear the bang of a rifle being fired and the whistle of a bullet screaming right past your ear. And in fact, a moment later, you start to feel a small amount of blood as you notice that it has nicked the edge of your ear. The priest kind of whips the horses again to get some more speed. You hear Jacob let out a kind of primal yell, and then darkness seems to descend over the village more so than it already was. The lights don't go out, but they seem to not kind of spread more than a foot. You can see them still, but they're like glowing orbs as opposed to anything actually giving out light. It's like a kind of black fog has descended over the village. And the cart is still moving, but you begin to see faces coming at you out of the fog, and voices, angry, ancient voices in the fog. And can you all make me a sanity roll?
Oh.
Is there rules for failing your sanity by a significant amount?
I don't think there is, actually.
Okay, that's good.
I got a pass, thankfully.
I failed.
Okay, if you passed, you lose 2 sanity. If you failed, you lose 4 sanity.
Yay.
Has anybody lost more than a fifth of their sanity this day in game terms?
That's actually the first sanity loss of the day, so no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay. So, you hear the screams of numerous people in the village, and you can only assume that they are witnessing the same thing as you. And then you come out of the fog, and your cart is tearing away towards Thornhill. And as you look back towards Durasdeer, you see the fog lifts there as well. The streetlights have returned to normal, but you can still hear the screams in the distance. The priest manages to find you somewhere to stay in Durasdeer for the evening, and the train company give you complimentary tickets for the rest of your trip to Glasgow tomorrow. You manage to meet up with Willie, who has been taking care of Esther. Melvin's uncle has headed on to Glasgow in the car. And you reach Glasgow the next day without any further incident.
Did we ever know about the Douglas family other than the girl?
Nope. The priest says that he'll take care of her. Whether that means returning her to her parents if they can find them, or literally taking care of her, you're not too sure without probing further.
How mad is his uncle?
Melvin's uncle is very unhappy with him.
Yeah.
Oh, Jemima's furious. She forgot her camera. No.
Oh.
All that effort.
No one will ever believe us.
No one will ever. I've got my notebook at least. I forgot the camera.
Duncan says that he thinks that he'll go set up shop somewhere else. And the priest says that he's sure that the church will have somewhere else that they can send him.
Do we just leave the village then? I think that's probably like one of the last things I say to the priest before we part.
I think it's probably for the best.
I guess you're right. Evil place.
And there you are.
It was a close call.
I was.
Yeah.
How's your ear?
Bit stingy.
Thus concludes the Darkwood Call of Cthulhu arc. Thank you all for watching and listening. The investigators got very lucky in that session in a number of ways. A number of things that could have gone considerably worse.
We saved all that luck for the last session. That was the tactic, you see. And we all spent like all of it. That was...
So if anybody has any questions or comments, then please put them in the chat, and Matt can put those up for us. I think that so basically the plan is to run this as a I've forgotten the word.
Anthology.
Anthology, that's it. So there's at least 2 more stories that may be in some way linked. We got follows from RPG Philippe and Dr. Statham 1. So if you're still watching, thank you for following us. Yes, if I think we're going to have an off week and then return with another story. Maybe the same players, maybe not. I don't know. We'll discuss that separately. So it'll be a totally different story. It's still going to be in Scotland. So if you don't like my Scottish accents, then stop watching, please, now, because there'll be more. Don't forget that Tuesday nights are Vampire, Wednesday nights are Simba Room. From this Sunday, we'll be streaming on the Free League Twitch, running Simba Room as well. And the first weekend of every month, first Saturday of every month, is a different one-shot adventure. Yes, so the start date of the next arc will be Monday, May the 17th. And there'll be more details of that in due course. I hope you enjoyed it. I really expected some investigators to die. But it didn't happen.
If there's one thing I've learned as a GM, the characters never die.
That's great timing, Matt. Thank you. Call me George R. R. Martin because all of your favorite characters are about to die.
If there's one thing I've learned as a GM, the characters actually refuse to die more than you expect. You're always like, oh yeah, this will definitely kill at least one of them, and then it's just like, they've made it. What?
Yeah. Presumably the right way up symbol prevents upside down gods from getting to you.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. No upside down gods for me.
That was fun.
Even if your uncle isn't proud of you, we are. Oh, thanks on Melvin's behalf, John.
We're super proud of Melvin. Melvin, that was some badass Melvin.
Yeah, finally, in the last episode, he got a backbone and
leaping
really
to save
badass.
the girl. Yeah.
Melvin's uncle is played by Ray Winston. Correct. Yes, absolutely. It's all been a terrible misunderstanding, and this is just their traditional open air Amdram presentation. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, that paints the investigators in a very different light, doesn't it?
We've kidnapped a young girl.
they've just shot the lead actor twice, and then run off with a young girl. I would have summoned Cthulhu if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Yeah, that's right.
That was when Jacob ends his turn today and was like, you.
Worth noting that the events in this are entirely based on a true thing. So the thing about the 1607 burial in the church, then outside, then back in the church by the Douglas family, it was true. That actually happened. And I read that and then just used that as the basis for
what?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is could be a true story then. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very bizarre, but when I was kind of figuring out what I was going to do for this story, I was looking around for actual weird things that had happened in small Scottish villages, and that actually happened in Durrisdeer, which is how I ended up basing it there and having those family names.
At some point in the future, someone from Durrisdeer is going to watch this and be like, how did you know?
Yeah.
God, they're onto us.
They're going to track us down.
What's your favorite moment from this story?
I guess there's always a bias. I saw this post earlier and I was thinking about it. There's always a bias for the session you just played. It's really difficult to avoid. But my favorite moment that I could think of right now was the moment when I was in the hall upstairs in the pub with the book, and we had that kind of standoff between me and Duncan. I thought that was really interesting bit of role play where it's like, not wanting to give something away. Like, I didn't want to say I had the book, but we both knew I had it. Duncan was just really like, please, you're gonna, it's bad. That was fun.
Matt, what was yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think that last episode was great because I feel like Dane literally got away with the skin of his teeth. I thought when the rifle came out, that was it. But no, I think for me, it was probably the moment when Willie started to hear things too, because that was the sort of shit's getting real moment for me. Because it was we were kind of sure it wasn't just a collective anxiety and nervousness, and that was something else was going on. He was such a sort of grounded character before as well. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, again, I don't know whether it's a bias of it being this episode, but it's definitely sort of Melvin growing a bit of a spine, and because I mean, I don't know in that situation in real life. So most people would get in the car and go, but sort of, I mean, narratively and as a player, it's a lot more satisfying to not.
Yeah.
It is funny that when you're like, my character, I feel like they might not be brave now, but that's not fun.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
You don't watch films or read stories where the character goes, actually, no, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you watch stories about where people go, the opposite of that and get involved maybe when it's best not to.
I'll tell you what, the moment the car turned up, that was fantastic. That made me smile so much. I was like, no way, you're actually doing it.
I think my favorite, I've got a few. I think they're all basically the points where I saw people's reactions going whenever I said anything, or like I think the whispering bit, which was kind of like that was, keep a secrets, but that was kind of like I kind of just decided I was going to do that not very long before I did it as part of the thing for the book. And then I really liked that. And also I can't remember what the other time was when everybody was really creeped out.
Was it the gramophone?
Maybe at the yes,
the bells,
yeah, the bells and the gramophone and that kind of stuff. I liked the effect that they seemed to have as well. So yeah, I think when you're running a horror game, any bit where you actually manage to spook people is probably going to be one of your favorite parts.
Were there any parts, Jonny, where something went in a very different direction to what you planned or expected?
I mean, I think I've said before, but I kind of planned the macro plot, but not the micro plot so much. So I have like specific bits where I'm like, they need to kind of do this to be able to get to the end of the story. But really, in terms of like the character of the shopkeeper was made up on the fly because I didn't know that anybody was going to go talk to her. And then there's loads of bits where it was like the whole thing at the lake with Willie, like he could have not gone to the lake and that wouldn't have made any difference to the story. So there was no bits where, I was like, everything's going to break now because they're doing this. But I think that's partly how I view it anyway. Like, even if my end changed, I wouldn't consider it broken because I probably shouldn't really plan an end like specifically because I like people to have at least as much agency as they can when they're playing. So no, I don't think there was any moment where I was like, oh God, they've done this and it's terrible. No.
I suppose you've planned it on the bigger scale. Like if we didn't turn up to the village, this will, or didn't interfere, this is what would have happened. Everything up with that fire would have happened and everything. And obviously you've got the layout roughly of the village and all the characters already planned. But I suppose it's then more reacting to as we get involved and figure out.
That's the thing. It's the interactions that have to be kind of made up as you go along, but they can change like overarching bits of story theoretically, depending on how you interact with people. But also I did have an ending planned for if you literally all just left because it's completely like, it is completely fine for the characters that you're playing for you to go, I know that I'm going to feel bad for not doing anything to try and help these people, but I just want to go away now. Like that would be completely understandable. So if you all left, I had something for if that happened and like you would have just left and that would have been it.
That would have been cruel of us.
Yeah, but self-preservation as well. But yeah. Any more, Matt? The accent is amazing, in fact. Thank you.
Good, yeah.
Thank you. Interesting story. I think I could do a reasonable amount of accents. And the first time that I ever did one, I was reading a book called The Machine Gunners in primary school. And, you know, in primary school, they make you read bits of your book out that you're reading and stuff. And this kid in it is Glaswegian. So I did a Scottish accent, and my teacher was kind of like, that's really good, actually. And it's kind of gone on from there.
Led to this.
Yeah. I've got him on Facebook. I'll tell him you're responsible for this. Thanks for the follow. The last 31, who just also put that comment in about the accent. Last H31, maybe, I don't know. I was wondering whether look spend should be capped, especially in an anthology situation where you can't whittle down characters' look over time. That's probably a good idea, Steve. But I did quite like the big spend in order to fix one role that that Dane did in this instance. But yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to kind of cap it at, I don't know, maybe 10 a session or something like that.
The thing is, in a way, it's kind of good that you can spend it all at once, though, because if Dane had screwed up again at a critical moment and needed 2 luck and didn't have any, that's the perfect punishment for that circumstance.
That's
I suppose,
true.
isn't it? So,
yeah. What would have happened if Melvin had got in the car mobbed by villagers, or would he have got away? He would have got away, and I would have just had Jack off stream for the rest of the thing. I'd spoken to Matt about that before, that there was the possibility that some people, like everybody, might leave, or some people might leave. So that was, I know I've said I don't plan massively, but that was planned for in this instance, because I thought there's a very real chance that some characters will want to stay and see it out, and some might want to leave, which is understandable and completely fine in this kind of situation. Cool. I've just seen the new follower has said, I found you at the end of the game, and for the French guy I am, it's a pleasure to listen for me. Thank you. That's very kind.
To be fair, I live in Scotland. I'm surrounded by Scottish people, and your accent is good. Like I would not be able to tell it apart from the Glaswegians having it up here. So that's
lucky, because there's more of it to come. Thank you, everybody.
Can I just say, by the way, that this is the exact opposite of the reaction to whenever I do an accent in on Tuesday or Wednesday nights, where my players mock me mercilessly and say that I cannot do accents to my face on stream.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you've been watching the whole way through, if you haven't, then spoiler alert, this is the last episode of this arc. So yeah, the new one should start in 2 weeks' time, which is the 17th of May, Monday the 17th of May. So please come back and check that out. It'll be new characters, maybe the same players. We're going to talk about that later. Steve's just said new Patreon level sessions with Jonny for accent tuition. I can't teach things like that. I don't even know what I'm doing. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll hopefully catch you back for a new story in a couple of weeks. So bye.